right, we are live. This is Friday, April the 9th. Hello to everyone that is out there. Thank you for joining in and listening. We are represented right across the world today. We have Canada, the United States, the UK, and New Zealand in France. So that's awesome. So before we begin, if I can just ask everyone to take a few moments to drop into the sacred heart space. Let's take a few moments just to ensure that we are in coherence with our heart. Focus your attention on the area of the heart and imagine that your breath is flowing in and out of the heart space. In and out a little slower and deeper than usual. A cadence of 4 to 5 seconds to breathe in and out is a wonderful place to start. And let's just hang out here for a couple of breaths. That feels good. And let's come back when we're ready. So much has happened and so much has changed since we've been together in a group over the last number of months, and there's so much going on in our planet. The whole purpose of this conversation is to help anyone or to assist anybody on their journey as we ascend in consciousness, as we leave the third dimension behind and embrace the new golden age, the age of Aquarius. And so we're just going to share what's going on in our world in a hope that any of these experiences or wisdom or insights that we are being gifted with in our own unique ways may be able to assist anyone that is listening on their journey also. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Chrissy, who was guided to kick this off for us or to get us back together again. And I'm going to go on mute. And Chrissy, take us from here, please.
No pressure. No, I just had I can get into all the stuff that's been going on, but I thought let's keep it simple from my side. Is that I have a really big question that I would love a genuine sharing about, and that question is about we are shifting. That's obvious. But as humanity, we are quite used to being conditioned that we have to do something in order to get somewhere. So we have to do something in order to get to this fifth dimension. And for me, being quite Dutch, I guess, I get a little bit confused about it, because I think, what steps do I have to take? What do I do? Do I need to follow a course? Do I need to go to a teacher? Do I need to do meditation 5 times a day? So it's like my head starts spinning, and when I do nothing, I think, oh no, I'm going to miss the boat. I'm not going to be in the shift. And a few days ago, I spoke to an amazing spiritual teacher, and he was talking about how all these groups of people are coming together and they're doing real focused meditations in order to change their body from a carbon state to a more crystalline state and blah, blah, blah. And I was just sitting there going, I'm completely not doing the right thing here, because I'm not doing any of that. You know, all I know is that I'm trying to be as present as possible and as conscious as possible, and to genuinely deal with whatever feeling presents itself to me when it presents itself. Almost in a childlike manner, you know, it's like, oh, I'm feeling really sad right now. And I don't know where that's just come from. All I know is that I'm suddenly overwhelmed with a profound sense of sadness, for instance. And what I then do is try to be very conscious about that and feel it and subsequently transmute it. But my question is, what is the way to deal with this shift? Do we do things actively, or do we just stay present? I hope that's clear enough question. Thank you. I'll mute now.
Can I respond? Shall I go first, since we're the guides and guidance that I have is that you don't have to meditate every day. You meditate when you feel called to meditate, and that it's really agreement. It's agreement too, and there's actually no work needs to be done from a physical, small self or personality, egoic self. It's the divine self that does all the work. Once we make the agreement, we just align, allow, agree, and then we receive. And I don't think I'm pretty sure there's not one way to do this. And as the guide said in the very, very beginning, when you put your hand up and said, I'd like to serve others, I'd like to serve the divine plan and serve humanity, they said, what madness would it be that would be rejected? Of course you would be. It's delightful to have someone put up their hand and say, I would love to serve. Because we've also, to your point, Chrissy, we've been conditioned that we should be doing this and we should be doing that, and you need to purify the vessel, and you're not allowed to swear anymore, and you need to like all these rules and regulations which are not required at all. So that's just one perspective, not the only one, but just one that has worked for me, because I used to think also that there's obligation and I should be doing this and should be doing that. And what the guides say is should is always a claim in history. It's always a claim of what was of the old. And what they're sharing now in the teachings is it's a celebration of the unknown. And in the morning say what wonders can be created today, and be completely open to what miracles can show up. Because as I know Jen has been sharing online, I'm experiencing that now, where things it's amazing and incredible. So I'll stop there and pass the torch to whoever else might wish to share their perspective also.
I'm happy to share, sisters, and everyone who's watching. So what I found, it's a great question, Chrissy, and something that I've kind of explored quite deeply, really. And what I found is that the way to make Mother, Father, God do a happy dance is to just relax. It's just like to drop into that vibration like you're on vacation, and just give all your cares and all your worries back to our Creator. So I found I've got a spiritual practice that enables me to do that. And so I'm very well practiced in doing that. And I know that is when Mother, Father, God is like, gorgeous, gorgeous. So back to your question, I think what I've learned on my path, it's in case, as opposed to doing, it's more a case of emptying, becoming empty. We're so riddled with all these programs, these terrible, terrible lack programs that are just so distorted and so corrupted to their deepest core, that it really, really is our duty to identify them, those that exist on an unconscious level. And then when we look at them and face them, they're no longer unconscious and they become choices. Sorry. I love it. So that's the thing. It's like, for me, my journey is about emptying all the shoulds, all these sort of like programs and indoctrinations, and just like realizing that the fifth dimensional party is always happening in the present moment. And so really it is our absolute duty to find a practice that anchors us in the present moment. And I actually did this post today, and I said, fifth dimensional consciousness is just a fancy way of saying heart consciousness. That's all it is. It's the place where all that exists is sacred union with God, union with self, union with all that is. So the fifth dimension is, so you've got the third dimension, duality consciousness, you've got the fourth dimension, which is also duality consciousness, but it's a bit more intense and complex and a more fancier beings, but that's still duality consciousness. So our job as human transmitters is to bust through that fourth dimensional realm where there's still us and them and programs and ego and separation, to that place where we remember all is one. I'm one with you. I could never harm you, because if I harm you, I'm harming myself. So that's ultimately the journey, is to come to unity consciousness, and it's about dropping into our heart Now, there's a reason why the word heart contains the word hear and the word ear, because we must listen to our hearts, because our hearts truly are the sat-navs that take us to our spiritual destiny. So back to your question, Chrissy, for me, it's not about doing it. It's about removing all the programs, being empty, realizing that all instruments are empty, a guitar's empty, a flute's empty. And so my job as a daughter of God is to be empty. That's my job. That's all God wants from me. So that, and that's my deal. That's the deal I've made. So as I empty out, the light of the Christ can fill me. So yeah, that's my little threepence worth.
I would love to jump in. Can you hear me? I love that answer, Jen, so much. And Chrissy, I love this question because I think that there's an aspect of the collective, especially the star seeds and the light workers, that get so scared and kind of turn this into like a religious thing. Oh, if I don't do this and I don't do that and I don't do this, which is just another form of indoctrination and control. It's dogma. And the message that came to me very, very clearly was just to follow my heart. And my inner child knew, and she was just waiting, and she was like, can we just play? Can we please have fun? Can we paint the world in our frequencies? Can we paint our house in our frequencies? Can we use our magic? Can we stop focusing on us and them and all this other stuff that just makes us feel separate and shuts down our heart? Can we stop this? I need to play. I need to laugh. I need to dance. I need to do yoga. I need to run around, and I need to do arts and crafts. And the more that I've been doing that and incorporating that into my daily practice, as well as I also personally love to use hypnosis audios, I use theta healing on myself, meditation. It's more like, oh wow, we have the ability to program our minds. I've been studying more and more about the mind. The mind is amazing. And so it's an incredible tool, and it can be used to work towards manifesting the dreams of heaven on earth, which is here right now, which is essentially another way of seeing 5D Christ consciousness, where you're living in that vibrational frequency, and as you're existing it and resonating it, you're manifesting it and attracting it outside of you. Or it can live in more of like a hell consciousness, which would be 3D, 4D, 4D being the AI version of it and 3D being the physical version of it. It's just different levels of consciousness playing out. So personally, my instructions were stop going down rabbit holes, stop focusing on the 4D. It is what it is. And honestly, from the place that I'm at now, I honestly feel like it's dead. And I know that it's playing out, and I know that people are still playing it out in their consciousness, but for me, I'm like, oh, they're still playing that vaccine game. That's cute. Now, is that disassociation? I don't think so, because that's how I see it. It's not my reality. My reality is heaven on earth. My reality is God consciousness, Christ consciousness. And from that place, it's just, you can literally be experiencing heaven on earth right now or hell on earth right now, depending on what you're doing with your mind, where you're focusing, and where your vibrational frequency is. So I feel like the most responsible thing that any of us can do is be really disciplined of becoming really responsible for our own vibrational frequency. What am I thinking about? What am I feeling? Where am I focusing my attention? And if we're focusing our attention on something that hurts our hearts and shuts us off from feeling the connection to Christ consciousness and to God, then maybe that's your higher self saying to you, hey, you should probably turn around and go the other way. So it's really simple, but we make it so complicated. So I love that question, because I'm hearing so many people that are panicking. Oh my God, I'm not going to make it to 5D. It's like, wow, that in itself, that thought in itself, if that makes you feel ill, that's your higher self telling you, this is not resonant with our heart and our soul. change your thought, change your emotions, change your vibration, your frequency, change your life. That's how we make magic. And for me, that's what 5D consciousness is all about. It's bringing Christ consciousness into the vessel, grounded, embodying it, and then using that and painting the world in those colors. So.
Greetings from New Zealand. What a beautiful share so far. It feels so beautiful to be here and bring the realms of Aotearoa and the land of the long white dragons into this space. So beautiful. Yeah, that's an epic question, Chrissy, and I totally feel what you're sharing around that, Nina, around the beingness, around I guess I chat to so many people, and it's like you hear this beautiful innocent part of them sharing all the practices that they're doing currently, and at the end it's like, am I doing enough? You hear that anxiety. Am I going to do enough to squeeze through whatever cosmic sieve I'm being pressed into at the moment? You know, and am I going to come out as strawberry jam, or what's going to squeeze out? Am I sweet enough? Am I gorgeous enough? Am I juicy enough to make it? And you can feel that anxiety that comes from you know, that too muchness and the too much doing. And had such a strong sense the other day, and I'm really practicing this, is living in this eyes open world. There's nowhere I'm called to be at the moment where I'm having to close my eyes. And the more I'm in that eyes open and in that frequency of nature, it's for me, nature, 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 the animals, the horses, the dogs, the birds. And I'm literally, I know it sounds a bit kind of freaking Walt Disney, but the birds are kind of like almost landing on me at the moment. And I walk into a field and turn around and there's 8 horses following me. And so it's literally like my inner child is invited to be the frequency of horse and be the frequency of the ancient trees. And, you know, embody the lakes, like be in the lakes, and remember those codes of Avalon, and call whatever is present in that moment. And I keep being called to come into what I call an and frequency, which for me is like the simple formula of not being exclusive and not being in that separation consciousness. So yes, I am this, and it's like all my brothers and sisters in human form. It's like and collecting those in as mirrors of myself, and yeah, this and frequency, this inclusivity, this unity consciousness is all pervasive in nature. Nature's not excluding an oak tree, you know. It's as simple as nature in my body and my beingness to come into deep inclusivity in that heart coherence. Thanks.
I feel like with all of your shares, I've just got fuller and fuller. I'm just like, so beautiful. Chrissy, I love you so much. It's so brilliant. I was just thinking of you about half an hour before we dropped on here, and I nearly called you. And I was like, I wonder what Chrissy's going to get us to talk about today. And then, because I'd gone to bed to meditate for a little bit before, and I didn't meditate. I was just sleeping and dreaming, and my partner Phil came into the room, and I said, I wonder if I'm doing enough. I don't know if I'm doing enough. Right? Exactly what you were just saying. And he looked at me, and he held me, and he looked in my eyes, and he just said, Princess, you've worked hard all your life. And now you can just rest. There's nothing you have to do. You can just lie in bed all day if you want. There's nothing you have to do, as long as you're happy, as long as I'm with you and we're happy and we're in this beautiful love space. What else matters? And so I really love the immediate synchronicity. It's a song of life, isn't it? It's just playing, and it's so beautiful because was saying this to somebody the other day, I literally dream of something, think of something, imagine something, play with an idea and a feeling of something, and then it just happens the next day. And I'm not really doing anything. I've got more going on now. Things are being created in my business, in my world, and I'm really not doing an awful lot. And I used to work my ass off till 3 or 4 in the morning all the time, really working hard. And it's so strange to not do much. And when you were talking there, Jen, I had this beautiful image of a lotus. And with the lotus, you know, it's in the water, but it's not of the water. Right? It rises above the water. And my dad used to say to me when I was a little girl, be in this world, but not of it. I think I've got that the right way around. Like a lotus. So I'm above the dirty water, completely petals open, completely open, receiving the light, receiving all the frequencies, and just the more I open, the more beautiful everything is. And my roots are deeply rooted in the substance of being human. So I'm feeling everything. I'm in the waters, I'm feeling everything. So I guess I feel a lot like that. And to me, this whole thing of fifth dimension and the shift, people have made it very complicated. I agree. I think there's a lot of misinformation, or just not even deliberate. I'm not saying it's a deliberate, although that's highly likely and possible too, but I feel like it's really, really simple. And for me as a soul reader, when I look at people's energy fields, all the different densities, all the different vibrations that comprise us, this multi-dimensional tapestry of energies, there's a layer that is like the angelic child. And that to me is the fifth dimension. And when I've been in communion with that energy of the fifth dimension, communicating with the angelic children not yet born, or the angelic energy field of human beings who are alive, who haven't yet birthed themselves, they haven't yet birthed that energy into this body. Does that make sense? People exist on the third dimension, and then in a thinking dimension and all of that, you know, what you're describing, fourth dimension, but that it's like a layer around people, and it's golden, and it wants to be embodied. It wants to be move into form, and we're all that all the time. And the way to embody your angelic self, your angelic child, you could just call it your pure spirit, your beingness, your absolute beingness, your divine essence, your innocence. And along with this is your extrasensory awareness as well, by the way. Fully switched on senses, like a little kid, bing, you know, fully awake, fully present. Embodying this really literally, it just means to be able to receive, to stop fighting, to stop struggling, to stop pushing, and to just trust life and trust your breath and trust spirit, and kind of give up the struggle of being a human being with all the thinking and all the things you girls have described, and literally just receive that which you are, that I am. That you've described it, Nina, the joyfulness, the playfulness, the inner child, the unconditional love that you are. And it's not something you have to climb up and attain or do to get. It's almost the complete reverse. It's like you don't need to do anything except be humble and receive what's already given. That's my direct working experience, and you're all nodding, so I know you've had similar experiences, right? And just one last thing I just want to quickly say. I was talking with my dad the other day, and my dad has been massive influence in my life, and he taught me a lot about all these things growing up, and one day everything would collapse and society would collapse and the banks would collapse and there would be heaven on earth for 1,000 years, and you know, tons of things. He used to read me Edgar Cayce prophecies and stuff when I was 5, and we were absolutely in tears talking, because we both talked to each other about how we always knew that this would happen in our lifetimes, that this shift that we're witnessing now would happen in our lifetimes. And the fact that, and I say this because I feel like a lot of people, when you just stop and feel and recognize what you know, instead of searching for some other knowledge that you think you have to get somewhere else, away from you, from somebody else, and get some information about what's happening in the shift or what's happening in fifth dimension, whatever, it's actually just realize and remember that you already know, because your soul incarnated to be here at this time, and your knowledge is what's needed for you. Your knowledge is your own food. Your knowledge is your own validation, is your own sacred communion, if you like, with your soul, that you knew that you would be here. And just by being here, just by existing, it's like a massive celebration that you made it. Because lots of people haven't made it. Lots of people, it's difficult being here, is what I'm saying. It's difficult to be here as a human being. And so just being here and feeling that knowledge and that resonance of like, I chose, and this is who I truly am. I feel like if we could all remember that, that would be pretty incredible.
Could I say something on that, Tara? Thank you so much, by the way. This is really helpful. And the weird thing is, you know, I hear you speak, all of you, and I'm like, yeah, I know that, I know. You know, it's like you always resonate with it. You always have a knowing of it on some level. And the weird thing is a few days ago, I was speaking with a friend who has addiction problems. And he asked me, so what do I do then? And the first thing that comes up when somebody asks me that is, recommit to source every morning when you get up. You make that statement every morning. I recommit to being a full divine expression of source. And to set the intention of, you know, you want to clear an addiction or whatever, to just simply set that intention. And I said to him, I said, do you really think that source would make things only available to those who have money to pay for a workshop, or those who are living somewhere where there's happen to be lots of spiritual teachers or whatever, or you have to have an academic degree to be able to understand it? It doesn't work that way. Source makes it available to everyone in a unique shape and form for each person to be able to deal with and absorb and transmute. And that comes to me so easily, right? It just comes and it just comes out. And then I'm just so surprised that when I have to apply to myself, I start going, I'm only 4 years old and I would like to ask you, what do I do now? Like it doesn't, for some reason, it doesn't work on me. But at least it does. And I've known since I was little that I was born in a time where we were going to see a massive shift, and I knew also that it was going to happen in my lifetime, and I was really excited about it. All my childhood I was like, it doesn't matter that I don't have that I'm not the best at school, or that I don't have the best career. It doesn't matter, because I came for something much more special, and that's all that matters. But now that I'm in it, and I see a lot of people around me thrive, you know, going through this shift, it's really confrontational, because I don't feel like I'm thriving at all. I'm really, really struggling with this shift. And it feels really disappointing on some level, because I always saw it as really exciting and really cool. You know, I was always, when is it going to happen? Oh, Gaia, please just make it happen. Just do it now. It's too long. And now it is full on happening. I'm a bit like, ooh, shit. Okay. And yeah, I'm noticing that I'm really, really struggling. Like most of the time when you know, Nina, when you say like, oh, I want to be playing and stuff like that, all I can think is, who wants to play? Like, I don't have that will to be doing such things, to play, to, you know, not even to be with the horses anymore that I used to get so much joy out of. And it's almost like a certain tiredness is there, you know, of thinking, okay, no, I just came here to do this, and then once it's all happened, I'm going to check out and I'm going to rest for a really long time and just be like in a little cocoon, completely inwards, completely removed from all the happenings and things like that. So there's a little bit of confusion because it's not how I saw it. I always saw it as like a shift to a more energetic state of being, a more free heart space. Jen, like you said, much more heart space focused. And I'm noticing I'm not at all feeling that. Like I am feeling oneness for sure. I do feel like the connection, but so many things are not at all what I thought they would be. I'm not sharing this at all to discourage people or anything. I'm just trying to make it a subject that we can speak about so that it's not that, because I am meeting a lot of people who are feeling like I'm feeling as well. You know, people who are like spiritually open and you know, doing a lot to be in a heart space. And yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people who are going, wow, I thought this would be really different. Sorry, Paula, you wanted to say something.
No, I just wanted to put my hand out because I would love an opportunity.
Yeah, go for it. I'm done ranting. Thanks.
So the first thing that comes to my being is we honor that we're in transition. And the first thing I want to say is what an honor, all of us, anyone who is aware of this shift, what an honor to be aware of what's going on. What an honor. Right? An absolute honor. I have never felt more grateful of being aware, but it's transition. You're really in a position of transition, as we all are, right? As we talked a couple of times offline, we're discovering aspects of ourselves that perhaps we hadn't seen before. We have to reconcile that. Oh my gosh, I never knew I could be like that. Or, oh my God, I love that part of me that doesn't care that my house isn't spotless and clean. You know, like, we're learning all these amazing aspects of ourselves because they're coming up to be seen and to be loved. Because essentially, as we transition from one state of being to embracing and embodying more of our divine self, the monad, the Christ itself, light has to be shone on those aspects of ourselves that we've denied, that we've not allowed love. And I think that's, I'm not using it in any way, but when we become aware that I'm in transition and that things are happening for me perfectly, they might be uncomfortable as we learn these things and more things come into our awareness. But it's transition. It's transition. We never get it wrong. We never get it done. And we never really arrive because it's an infinite, eternal, incredible journey. And that's why I love these conversations, because there's 6 ladies here, 6 women in 6 different parts of the world, and our experiences are so unique, but absolutely perfect for that individual personality, which is in how incredible Source is. Source will meet you no matter how you show up. And then just with a comment to your friend that was dealing with an addiction, this actually came up in our classes recently, and they're like, you just claim that Source is helping me with my addiction. You can hand those challenges. Please take this from me. I can't do this. Whether it's a forgiveness thing or an addiction, please take this from me. I can't do this alone. And then the final thing I want to say is, because I've had, in my own experience, one of the most interesting, and I even want to say kind of trippy things is having the awareness of my personality self having a hissy fit, right? Having an emotional response to what's going on. At the same time, my monad is guiding me in that. So it's like there's 2 of me in here. And then there's like a third observer watching how it transitions or transforms within my own being as I embrace and love and honor that aspect of myself that I was mortified about for a moment or 2. Then it's integrated, and then it feels like expansion, right? It feels like almost collapse and then expansion. And yeah, so just one perspective that I'm sharing. And then in closure, as I was going through these challenges I just shared, I was asking, so I go in the bath. I had a lovely teacher years ago, Lisa Gawlish. She can see energy. She's amazing. And she taught a long time ago that in the bath is when you start learning, is a great way to get the messages clearly. And I was asking, I'm like, am I on the right path? Am I doing the right thing? Like, I think I'm checking all the boxes, ascension, step 1, step 2. And I had this overwhelming feeling of a really, really strong hand that's got me. And when I stumble, it's like, it'd be like, Chrissy, you being 3 steps down a staircase and you stumble and I've got both of your hands. So we are so supported and so guided. And that's what we have to keep going back to, that wellspring to the heart and knowing that, because we're not going to make any sense of anything out there. And source through the heart is the only thing that's going to help make sense in here. And then we're going to perceive from the eyes of the Christ and see love and divine in everything. So I'll pause there.
Can you hear me? I apologize, but I have to go get an extension cord for my computer because it's running out of power quite quickly. So I just want to make sure you put me on mute, and I'm going to leave you with the flowers. I'll be right back.
I'd like to respond, Chrissy. And I just want to say thank you. You've really, really echoed what so many people are feeling right now. And I think it's so important that we bring this into our meetings. And so thank you for that, sweetheart. And for me, I was in that journey. I've had the most traumatic thing happen to me in the last few weeks. We all know that. But because of my spiritual practice and the fact that I'm completely stabilized in unity consciousness due to my spiritual practices, even though the most traumatic, exceptional experience has just occurred, I never ever fell off my surfboard. I rode that wave like a freaking pro. Do you know what I mean? So there is a way that we can do this, that we can navigate this most extraordinarily challenging realm. And that needs to be underlined 50 million times. It truly is, I believe, the most challenging realm for the soul. So for me, it was like my egoic consciousness was pulling me absolutely all over the shop. Even though I'd had my spiritual awakening, because I didn't have a spiritual practice, I was still believing my ego. So it wasn't until I absolutely fully committed to my spiritual practice of resting as awareness for short moments, of just stopping thinking whenever I naturally remember to do so, that I finally was able to create that spaciousness and detachment with my egoic consciousness, which I was completely identified with. I was completely identified with its narrative. And so it was just pulling me all over the shop. It was just like, oh, one day this, one day that, one day that. And that was my experience. But it wasn't until I fully committed to my spiritual practice of resting as awareness that I had this, I became the observer, and then something really extraordinary happens, because if you don't have a spiritual practice, your egoic consciousness will believe it is the master of your vessel. It just will. And so you need to disrupt that pattern. And so we do that by committing. It's not having a spiritual practice, it's committing for every single moment and every single day of your life to this spiritual practice. And then what my teacher used to say to me, she said, oh, it might not seem that amazing, just like, resting for awareness for a short moment, like whoopity-doo, oh, I've just took a short moment. She said, but she's like, every single morning, it's like the universe gives us a beautiful string. And every time we take a short moment, we take that pearl and we place it on that string. And then at the end of the day, we've got a whole necklace worth of pearls. And those pearls are symbolic of the clarity that is sourced from our soul consciousness. Not from our egoic monkey mind, but from our soul consciousness, from our intuition, from our subconscious, from the collective consciousness of all that is pure and undistorted by the indoctrination of the matrix. So my recommendation, because I am living proof of the exceptional power of a spiritual practice, is to commit. Find a spiritual practice. I have 2 spiritual practices. One is resting as awareness for short moments, and the other one is going on rampages of gratitude. Whenever I naturally remember to do so, I will just reel off 10 things I'm grateful for. Whether I'm washing up, in the car, whatever. It's just I've trained my consciousness to go on rampages of gratitude. Now, when we commit to this path of going on rampages of gratitude, again, we are disrupting that egoic narrative, that egoic consciousness. We're disrupting it. And we're saying, no, actually, right now, I'm going to be focused on this. Because your ego is always trying to pull you into the victim narrative constantly. It's just addicted to being the victim 24/7. So when you direct your consciousness towards that which you're grateful for, in that moment, you are taking the reins of your consciousness. And the ego doesn't like that. It really, really, really hates that. It likes to be in control. So again, we have to commit to these spiritual practices. I talk about this in deep depth, and I pray with all my heart you read my book, Chrissy, because my book will absolutely massively assist you to go to the next level. And I go in very, very deep detail about the spiritual practice. But part of it is allowing things to be as they are. You know, if I see my thoughts and my emotions as visitors, you know, and I'm like, oh, that's a bit of a sorrow story today, or and it's just like there's like a detachment. I can't control it, and I don't wish to stop it, but I'm not identified with it. Whereas before I'm really upset. I feel really, really shit about what just happened. I would go into identification. But now I've learned to just become the observer, and we allow everything to be as it is, because our consciousness is like the sky, and thoughts are like clouds, and the sky isn't fussy. The sky is not like, right, well, I'm happy to have rainbows. I'm happy to have, you know, a few tornadoes. But when it comes to those hurricanes, I just draw the line. Like the sky is just totally open and accepting of all appearances, because the sky doesn't identify with that which is temporary. The sky knows it is eternal. And that is our divine consciousness, is in that place of eternity. And all this is just temporary. Don't identify with that which is temporary. And that's it. And once you do that, boom, boom, that's it. Passing on the stick.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I don't need to speak further, but I just want to say thank you for that, because you're the second person who's been saying that the lesson is in seeing realizing you are the sky and not the drama of the changing clouds. So thank you for that reminder. Mute.
Sounds like you were talking about the drama and the emotions, and I feel like what the message has been coming to me recently is the emotions are like water, and I'm here next to the beach, 2 minutes from the beach, most stunning beach, and the waves come in and the waves go out, and the emotions are like that. And if we observe them and observe the drama rather than buy into the drama, it's amazing how when you come out of resistance and you embrace and you trust, the energy moves, because the heart is able to move. And I've even found myself, like when I have to go to the store and everybody's popping the vaccine around here like candy. And I find myself just saying, I love you. Just sending love to all of the things that I have resistance towards. Thank you for showing up in my movie to show me where things can still stick to me. Thank you for showing me where a reflection that I've brought in and created in my movie right now for me to see, because I've been asking to grow in my consciousness. Thank you. Thank you for being a reflection of that. And the more that I've been seeing everything and everyone as consciousness and frequency and vibration, I can also say, wow, I really honor that on your journey and your path. This is what you're choosing to experience. And it's not for me to judge you, because I already went through this in a different way. I didn't choose to go through this way, but I only am here because I already went through a version of this. So I bless you, and I send you a lot of love, because you probably really need that right now in your journey and in your evolution of consciousness. And that's how it has been really helping me, is really seeing all of this as a massive play. And there's different stages, and there's the 3D stage, and there's the 4D stage, and there's the 5D stage. And even with myself, going, okay, well, that's who I was in 3D. That's the old story. Who am I in 5D? Who am I in Christ consciousness? Which essentially for me means, who am I through God's eyes? Who am I? Who did God make me to be? Who am I in the kingdom of heaven? What role am I playing? And so a lot of what I've been doing is spending time in that inner heavenly temple, and also getting to know my 5D galactic self, getting to imprint her frequency, which is me, upon me, and interviewing her. And the more that I'm doing that and spending time and bathing in those energies, I am massively transforming very quickly in a very playful, very fun way. And it's so magical. So yeah, I just wanted to offer that.
How are we doing on time, Paula? Can I add one little?
Absolutely, we're good. I'm good with time. Yeah, please do add, and then perhaps Jenni and Tara might like to share a perspective too.
Yeah, unless you want to share a perspective now, it's just a short theme that I wanted to pop in before we.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Jenni, would you like to add? Yeah, and then Tara, and then do share what you've got there, Chris.
Thank you. It's beautiful. Yeah, there's that feeling as I hear people share what Tara was saying about being some kind of between the worlds and not of them. And I can really feel in my nervous system when people, it's the categorizing, 3rd-D, 4th-D, 5th, there's something, it's like I actually feel the levels, the lines, the delineation in my body. So what I've been saying to myself a lot is my journey is how I'm moving my own nervous system from where I was and who I used to be to where I'm going. And that just gives me such courage to genuinely do what makes me feel great and amazing and you know, clear and alive. Like what brings me to the pulse that I feel in Mama's heart? What brings me to that pulse point? And this idea of running through, being the seams, being the seamstress, being the weaver, being that master spinner of consciousness through all parts, as Nina said, my galactic self, my mermaid self, all of those places, being my own seamstress, like the Peter Pan sewing my own shadow back on, like, come here, shadow, I love you. And with such joy in those processes. And there's that beautiful Japanese way of making art where when somebody in a family breaks a vase or a vessel, they never throw it away. And the artist, I think it's called kintsugi or something like that, and they repair the broken fragments with seams of gold. So it becomes more beautiful than it was before. And it's like that story is woven through the golden thread. And I'm really being so present with that in myself. Like, I am more beautiful because of my breaks and my cracks. And wow, look how I fit back together. How amazing is that? and like loving being the seamstress of my own breakage, my own fractal experience of consciousness in this body. Yeah, so thank you. I just wanted to bring that art into this space.
Thank you, Jenni. Yeah, same thing really. Love everything. That's the message. That's just what comes through for me constantly. Love everything. And Chrissy, I completely understand anybody and everybody who's feeling like, oh my God, it's taking so long. Why hasn't this happened already? And this and this and this and this and this, and like waking up in the morning and checking, has it happened yet? I totally do that. But I think it's kind of like the way that I feel about it is like, isn't life kind? That if everything happened, this enormous wake up from ignorance, insanity, unconsciousness, pain, suffering, delusion, everything. And we suddenly went, bing, oh my God, I am Christ, I am God, I am light, I am source, I am everything. And that whole spectrum from there to there, if we did that overnight, do you know how many people's brains would just pop? Like the fuses would just be blowing everywhere. And it would be nuts. Right? People would be like lunatics. They'd be and bless him. I was listening to David Icke the other day talking about his awakening moment, and it did happen like that for him. And that was really intense. And I know other people that's happened for, that emergency awakening, like from zero to hero kind of. And it's really intense. It's not comfortable. It's very unpleasant. And I think if that happened to all of humanity at the same time, it would be crazy. So I think that it's really beautiful that life, the whatever's steering us, this, everything, life, I'm just going to call it life, that it's actually unfolding in the most fun and exciting layer after layer. And there is drama if you want to be into the drama and you want to follow the drama and you want to lose yourself in the drama. You have permission to do that. You can get into it. And also you can step back from the drama and just go, I just love being. It's nothing to do, just be. And it's kind of really beautiful that it's all unfolding in its own sweet, amazing time. And it's bit by bit. It's been happening for ages, bit by bit, drop by drop. So it feels like a lot's happening, but it's the accumulation of all those drops. It's the accumulation of all those pearls, Jen. So that we're going, yeah, we've got a lot of present moment magic right now because we've accumulated over time. And for me, very quickly, it's very simple. Again, I feel like you, Jenni, the whole classifications and stages are not really my thing. I just know I either feel super, super connected to the highway of me, source, is, being, love, truth, whatever the words are that fit with that. I feel super connected, or I don't feel so connected. And I know that when I feel super connected, everything's amazing, everything's magic, I'm happy, life is beautiful. And when I get disconnected, then I start to feel not so good. And when I'm super connected, doesn't matter what is happening around me, I can just love everything and bless everything and bless all the people that are leaving and bless all the people that are staying and bless all. And by the way, I want to clarify that what I meant was making it. I didn't mean make it as in you make it or you don't make it when I said that earlier. I really, just in case anybody thought I meant that. For me, we all make it. We're all souls on the same journey, we do it together. It's Ubuntu, it's all of us. That's how it is for me. There's no separation. It might appear to be separation, but that's the drama. In reality, you all know there is no separation. And being connected to that place, just that, let that be the check. Am I connected or am I disconnected? Am I feeling amazing or not feeling so amazing? And love the whole lot, love everything. Come back to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Tara. I think it's pretty fair to say that we're at the part in this play, in this grand drama, in this Broadway finale, where we let the world go and we create from the heart space. And I heard last week, I think it was Neville Goddard, some old book by him. But I think it was a quote that was given that Christ is the imagination.
Mm-hmm.
We let the external world go. We create through our own heart, through that connection to source, and use that incredible imagination to create the Christ mind, the world that we are indeed anchoring here. And we're to be the guideposts or guidance, or we help to illumine, because we share our stories, which helps others perhaps that are, perhaps a few steps on their own path. We show what's possible. And when you go into the present moment, that's the only place we can communicate, leveraging all of these incredible technologies that we have inherent in our own body. That's what it feels like where we're at right now. Because it's scary for folks when they're waking up, like it's going to be confusing. Oh my gosh, what is happening? And yeah, you're right, Tara. If we all woke up at the same time, it'd be quite chaotic on this planet, more so than it is right now. So we need to anchor. That's what I feel like we're doing. We're the anchors and stabilizing this newness. And we are in an incredible time of opportunity and wonder. As long as we turn the other cheek, let that go, come back inside. So Chrissy, you were going to share your insight let's have a listen to that.
Really loving everyone's sharing, by the way. It's just so, wow, amazing. And I almost feel like this next thing that I want to say, I hope it's not going to put a damper on all your beautiful sharing. I don't think it will. It's just more on a practical note, is that in order to get into the United Kingdom, I had to take 3 COVID tests. I managed to avoid the one going through the nose because of a medical condition. But this spiritual teacher that I was with a few days ago, he said that he had tuned in on these swabs and thought there would be nanotechnology in them that would then do the same as what a vaccination would do. And when he said that, I just went, oh my God. Like it was just like, no way. If that happens, I'm FUCKED. And then when I tuned in on it and I asked Spirit or Source, like, what's happening? The answer I got was genetic bioengineering or genetic manipulation on the human body has already been going on for a very, very long time through all sorts of micro doses of chemtrails and genetically modified food and all sorts of other things. So our bodies have already been dealing with a lot of these attacks, and our bodies have already been kind of, I wouldn't say becoming immune, but our bodies have been sort of been working slowly, getting rid of this, and that I don't need to worry too much. Basically, that was the message I got.
Yeah.
I just would like to cross-reference that with some people, if that's.
There's nothing outside of Source, and the Christ light burn through anything. Go ahead, Dina. I know you're.
I am, because I had to get it too, and I was actually guided to get it. And I this is super vulnerable, but a lot of people already know this. I got COVID. Now that happened because, believe me, I was shocked that I got COVID. The last thing that I imagined I would get, because I'm sovereign. I said I would not get it, blah, 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 blah. Whether it was COVID or pneumonia, it was different than anything I've ever had, but it launched me to the next level. And I had to do some inner work. And to be honest with everyone, it was really about releasing a lot of the patriarchal religious dogma and oppression, and doing some personal inner work with that. And then at the same time, I was receiving tremendous Magdalene Rosary frequencies. And I think that it all just, my body just couldn't take it all at once. But the whole point to this is that it also caused me to start doing a lot of research into radiation and radiation poisoning. And so with that, I've been doing radiation detox. And I also wear shungite. I will not take it off. I have it in my home. And I'm noticing tremendous transformations. So if you have had to take a test, or if you're feeling, part of this is you can also be protecting yourself from radiation and detoxing radiation. But I asked the same thing, Chrissy. I said, I had to do this. I was guided to do this. I needed help at that point. I was not able to breathe. And Source guided me to go to the center and to get a test. And I'm actually quite glad that I did. I had to go on meds. And, I was thanking God in those moments that was available to me, because there are many different strains of these viruses and they work differently in different people's bodies. But I also said, is something going to happen to me because I've had to get this test? I did also put my hand on it before they put it. I had to do the nose one, but it only went to the very beginning of my nose. I don't think they're doing the one where they go all the way up anymore. They were in the beginning. This was just surface, like right to here. It didn't go up anywhere near my brain or anything like that. I put my hand on it and I said, I cast out anything wicked in this in the name of Christ, and I bless this in the name of Christ. And I fully believe that we have the power to bless anything. Christ's light, God's light, is bigger and greater than anything. Even people that have gotten the vaccine, I can't buy into the whole, their DNA changes and they're never going to be the same. I'm sorry, I can't. God's bigger than that. I think that God makes the final decision, and that's where I'm standing with everything. So that's my input there.
Nina.
Well said, Nina. And I fully agree with you as well that that the holistic technology within us can override all distortions and sort of like biological attacks. So yeah, some people are saying that they can't, but that's just a belief. Whatever it is that you believe is what you're going to create. I totally stand with you, Nina, that God is all powerful, and you know that God wouldn't have created a problem that there wasn't a solution to. So I feel that, you know, we can access that within our own self, but you have to be at quite a high level. So thank God there's going to be the med beds that are coming in. So you won't necessarily have to be at that high level to be able to activate those transformations. But I really, really do feel that is incoming. And I feel that the more we can raise our vibration, like these attacks can't really affect us when we're in our Christed light. They just can't. And so our job is to find practices that enable us to stabilize in that higher consciousness, you know. And I just want to just say, like, the way I see 3D and 5D is that 3D consciousness is duality consciousness, which is symbolic of the caterpillar, and the caterpillar holds the potential for the butterfly, and the butterfly is representative of fifth dimensional consciousness. So it's not like a judgment, it's just an observation. Do you know what I mean? You can make of it what you like, but you can call fifth dimensional consciousness Christ consciousness, unity consciousness, God consciousness, oneness consciousness. There's many names for it, but it's coming into marriage, the vibration of sacred marriage. And that is completely different from being in duality consciousness. There's no judgment. We all love everyone in duality consciousness. But there is a massive, there's a massive difference. But you're not unworthy of love. It's just, you've got to call a spade a spade. I'm not here to just like be in denial. Do you know what I mean? And actually it's really, really helpful because, you know, our jobs is as ascension coaches. And my understanding is that we have activated those codes, those higher frequency codes, and we're able to then send that information back to people that are drawn to work with us, like, oh yeah, have a spiritual practice, become addicted to gratitude, do random acts of kindness, become orientated to serving others, totally love yourself, nail loving yourself. These are all guidance. This is guidance that we pass on that very quickly makes people transform into unity consciousness, into fifth dimensional consciousness. So I don't know, I just think, like, people watching us, I just felt like I just wanted to say that. And you know, and it's very, very mystified, and it doesn't have to be mystified, because fifth dimensional consciousness is the heart consciousness. It's where union with God and union with all that is. That's all it is. It's nothing fancy. It's just who you are. It's who we are. Like, yeah, it's not like you have to get there. All you have to do is take out all the programming that kind of like blocks you, that filter from saying you're there. Do you know what I mean? It's like we're all in our enlightened state. We're all just beautiful, beautiful roses, ultimately. And then the matrix has just stuffed all these ideas. Oh no, you're a daffodil. Oh no, you're a daisy. Oh no, you know what I mean? You're blah, blah, blah. And so it's that causes the confusion. Do you know what I mean? But actually, in our purest essence, we are in unity consciousness, and it's only the distortions of the matrix that has sought to confuse us. You know what I mean? Anyway, I just wanted to say that. But I love you all.
That was awesome. Thank you.
My teacher used to say, would a bee try and act like a flower? And you might think that sounds really weird, but that's what we do all the time. It's like, if you're a bee, you're trying to be like something else because you think it looks pretty and you're attracted to it. And it's like, be a bee, just be. Sorry, I jumped in with that, sorry.
Carry on.
Now, regarding the tests, I think that's a really great question as well, because my son, he was here in France, and then to get back to UK, he had to have one, and it was a plastic thing, and it went straight up his nose, down the back of his sinuses, and down into his throat, and it was very fast and quite violently done, actually. And I guess the woman who was doing it, because you have to have one of these to get the flight certificate, and she had hundreds of people coming through that door, and she must have just been, I mean, every 3 minutes she was doing a person, so it was up and out the room and gone, you know. It was quite violent. And I was really concerned as well, and I totally tuned in. I was like, no, my boy, he's 19, he's totally protected by unconditional love. He's protected by life, he's protected by source. And I think it's like, when you, like what you were saying, Jen, when you believe and know that you are, I mean, we are anyway, but if you believe that you're not, then you're taking yourself away from that which is. You're separating yourself and saying, oh, this is going to separate me, this is going to harm me, this is going to hurt me, this is going to be against me, you know. And whatever we call into existence by that, or call into our reality by making it so by the fact that we say it and believe it. But we're actually going against what actually is, because the truth is, you are loved and held and protected constantly. You are loved, love is there. And if you don't feel it, you can ask for it in that moment. I've had moments where I felt incredibly vulnerable and weak and scared. And especially a few weeks ago, my goodness, real vulnerability. And I was just like, I called in Christ, I called in Mother Gaia, I called in Source, God, love, everybody, all the teachers, my Archangel Michaels, all my angels. I'm calling them all in. I feel vulnerable. I'm scared in this moment. Please protect me. And it's instant. And then from that, you be the one to take responsibility and, you know, learn how to be in that all the, you know, as much as you can. Call it in when you don't feel like you have the strength, because let's face it, some of us, we don't always have the strength. There are times. And so it's beautiful, and it's just knowing that you are safe, loved, held and protected always, and don't pull against that by trying to believe something else and saying, oh yeah, this big scary thing, now this is going to do it. I'm totally agreeing with yourself and Nina and all of you here. I, for one moment, do not believe, as insidious as though I feel this jab is, and I totally don't recommend taking it. I don't feel that it's like, oh, that's it. It's done for you. It's over. You're irrecoverable. And I read a quote as well yesterday. It was going around from Rudolf Steiner, who predicted that there would be a vaccination that would separate a being from his or her soul. I don't know if any of you else saw that. And it reminded me of the movie The Golden Compass, or those books, The Northern Lights, where they're separating the child from her demon. And it's like separating the body from the soul. And it was like, yeah, really interesting. But even if the vaccination does do that, a lot of people do that anyway through trauma and fear and belief that they are not loved, and belief that they are not safe in this life and in this body, and not welcome and not wanted. That belief will also separate us from our spirit. I see it literally it's like most people are living in a state of only just hanging on by a thread, right? Because we so disembody, and our spirit disconnects from our body because we believe that we're not loved, we're not wanted and needed on this planet, and we're not here for a reason, and we don't belong. So it's really, you know, everything Jen mentioned, and for me, radical self-love, and just going, I know I'm loved, I am loved, and loving that which gets in the way of believing that, loving yourself whole again. And then you are, and one of my practitioners, she calls it being unfuckwithable. You just become unfuckwithable in that unconditional love. So practice that, be that. And I think it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what's thrown at you. Done. Boom.
Yeah, the soul learns irregardless. The soul always learns, no matter what choices we make as a personality self.
Right. And if it does take somebody's life away this time, well, you know, I do know that life is eternal, and you come back round and you have another go, right? I don't know, that's just me. Life is eternal, nothing ends. There's another challenge.
That is a fact.
Yeah. Jenni, did you want to add anything before we wrap?
Yeah, the only piece that's really sitting there for me is that unconditional love space. I've been, it's like there's this innocence in my inner child that knows exactly what to say when I meet people, and it's like coaxing their soul in more. And I've been categorically going around to everyone at the moment and saying, your heart is so pregnant right now. And I'm literally meeting people with heart pregnancy. And what happens even just sharing that magnetic field and that love quotient, you can feel it. When love is recognized in another, there's something incredible that shows up in their body. And I'm literally just like zapping everyone with heart pregnancy at the moment, and feeling and invoking and inviting, and yeah, just like literally just speaking to that thread, Tara, that thread that we all see in another as their soul is yearning. And I've been, really playing with this idea of, this desperation, this anxiety, this neediness. It's like, don't dismiss that, amplify it to its truth, which is the yearning to unify with Source, with God, with Mother. And not negating that, like go to your full yearn, go to your yearn when you ache, that desire pulls and draws and allures life back into your embodiment. And some part of me is like, my God, did I say that to that complete stranger in the shop? Yes, I fucking did. I said that. And I'm going to keep saying that piece, and that, that precision of the soul alchemy that we are all gifted with, us as, it's that courage to say what that trembling inner child wants to say to that other child of God in that moment is so, so precious. Yeah.
Thank you, Jenni. I love the words that come out of your mouth. It's like you've got this incredible filing system in your brain with this fabulous vocabulary. I love it. Yeah, so as we wrap up, those that are listening, you must know you're already forgiven. There's nothing that you could ever do that would make you unworthy of the love of Source. That is the strength that we are working with. So all you have to do is claim that. I am of Source. I am of Source, and I'm here for a reason. As everyone that is put in front of you in your day is also an expression of Source. So it's you meeting you in perfect ways to expand and grow and love. And if somebody has forgotten who they are, we know who they are, and so we can claim them and their perfection on their behalf. Right? We're already forgiven. We're already so loved. Go ahead, Chrissy. It was so lovely to speak with you guys again. I so thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Go ahead, Chris. I'm really hoping that this helps anyone that's listening that might be struggling. There is a way. There is a way through this. Go ahead, Chrissy.
I was just going to say, you're complimenting others on their speech, but I find most of you have channeled speech. It's amazing. Beautiful.
I love it. And also, exactly what you girls said. It's so beautiful, so beautiful. And I feel like celebrating that remembrance and that recognition and the longing and the aching and the speaking to it is so amazing. And just knowing that because you're alive right now, you're meant to be here. You're born for this. You were born to be here. Why are you afraid that something bad's going to happen to you? You were born to be here and see this through to whichever point you say, that's it, I've done my part, and I'm going to go back to my angels, like our beautiful brother, Liam, like there's no force, there's no push. It's like the surrender into the current of our soul that's leading us on a journey and just going with it. You were born for this. Every single one of us on this planet right now is born for this. And I feel like we should just celebrate. It's like, this is epic.
Yeah, and we can indeed.
You can get off the stage for a moment and just go, good job, everyone. You know, let's go back on the stage and go back into the drum.
It's almost like it is almost like we can take a kind of little bit of a time and go, oh my God, Chrissy, you were awesome. You're like the best biatch ever. That totally snapped me out of my bad behavior. Love you, sister. Jen, you're going to say something, hun.
I wanted to hear from Chrissy. I feel like we haven't really heard from you, and if there's anything that like your heart would like to share as we sort of like complete, because I feel like you've been such an anchor for this conversation. And like, have you got anything? Do you feel different? Do you feel inspired?
Yeah, I obviously feel much more at ease knowing that I don't have to, I'm not going to miss the boat, basically. That it is about my consciousness. And I know that I have the consciousness. I am the consciousness. And a lot of the time I do feel like I'm a representative of Source. You know, I almost feel like maybe I was coming across almost a bit maybe too negative, but sometimes I just happen to, I just play that role sometimes, you know, of being the sort of the rebellious child. But it's not black and white like that. I do have moments of connection. And to be very honest with you, I have not chosen the easiest path either. Like, I'm 47 and I've just chosen to move to a new country in a new county, which is the most unlikely county I would ever choose to move to, because energetically I didn't feel like I wanted to come to Derbyshire. It didn't feel like this is where I need to be. The times I've lived in England, I've lived in real spiritual power centers, you know, and, you know, being in Derbyshire all of a sudden is like, I know my colleagues and they're lovely, but, you know, I don't think I've chosen the easiest path, you know, breaking off a relationship last year and then moving like this. So I guess sometimes, you know, I got to give myself some credit as well, and thinking, okay, I chose a bit of a kick-ass mission to join Iconic Media here. And, you know, speaking of playing, to me, it kind of feels like playing, being with those guys, you know, starting an alternative media company, which they did, and really challenging the status quo. And it's actually really cool to hang out with them and knowing we're on this super mission. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to. Thank you for asking, by the way, Jen. Thank you.
Chrissy, you're one of the most switched on people I know.
Thank you.
And I love it. You know, I think I love your honesty and transparency and vulnerability. And you just come out, you know, sometimes you are so switched on and you are that channel and you are, you know, the super being, Chrissy. And then other times you are the vulnerable child and the one that says, but I don't know. And I just think it's really adorable and cute that you do that. And we all do that in our own ways. To greater or lesser degrees, we all do that. And it's so beautiful to bring that out. And like we talk about, you know, it's walking it, isn't it? And being like, no, I love all these parts. I'm just saying it on camera. I love all these parts. And I think that you speaking it, clearly, you know, you're transparent and honest about it. And it's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, I thank you for saying that, Tara. And I guess what really matters to me is what we've spoken about in previous roundtables as well, is authenticity in being the key aspect. And I don't remember who said it at the beginning, but we're all these unique expressions of Source, so unique that there's never been another. And to be able to tap into that and allow that authenticity to shine through, I find, you know, I find that actually the most disarming thing to witness in other people when I see it.
Yeah. It's like everybody that's put in front of us is a gift from Source to know more of who we really are. Just absolute magnificence.
Yeah.
And what's really important is reaching out for one another. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Paula. Just saying, like, reach out. It's, I think it, you know, what's so beautiful, this is about unity consciousness and coming together in oneness, and, you know, we reach out. So if we're having a wobble, we reach out and we connect with our sisters, our brothers, our, you know, and hold each other in that. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, we are so dearly loved. And on that lovely note, Tara, ladies, absolute delight to meet up with you again and chat on this Friday. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and let's do this again soon.
Yeah, definitely. Love that.